What's up, everybody? It's Goddess Z, and I'm here with another podcast episode on holistic and spiritual AF. Welcome to this podcast. If you are new, we talk about all sorts of things as it relates to the mind, body, spirit integration. So we talk about ancestral healing, we talk about metaphysics, spiritual healing, life coach. We talk about all kinds of different things. So be sure to follow this podcast and subscribe, depending on which platform you're actually watching or listening on, because you don't want to miss when we drop an episode. And these episodes drop and air the first and the third Friday of every month at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I have guests on the podcast sharing their gifts and their wisdom, and it's been growing in so many amazing ways. And if you are coming back to my podcast, welcome back, fam. I appreciate you guys so much. The podcast is growing. All sorts of amazing things are becoming manifest out of this vision that started from my ancestors' wisdom. So I appreciate every last one of you guys actually making this thing count. Okay. So, all right. If you know anything about me, I got to get some business out of the way. So if you're watching this, you can follow me all over social media at Holistic and Spiritual AF. And that's Ann spelled out. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Substack, Medium, YouTube. This podcast is aired anywhere a podcasts are played. So Apple Podcasts, Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, just pretty much I'm syndicated now everywhere that podcasts are actually being aired. Okay. So let's see. My guest is going to be dropping some gems as well. Today, I'm going to be sitting down with Ebony Goodrich, and I'm going to have all her information as well as my information down in the description. And if you're impatient like me, go ahead and skip over to about 5 minutes and go ahead and jump yourself into the episode so you don't miss a thing. But I definitely got a lot of business to get out of the way, and I want to talk about my special guest today. Ebony Goodrich is a spiritual life coach from the Wisdom Network. She's an intuitive healer, a certified hypnotherapist, and she helps women to reclaim their power through energy work, past life regression, and embodied healing. In this episode, we're going to be talking about healing past life wounds that are still showing up in this lifetime, how energy work can shift everything in your mind, body, and soul, calling your power back through deep spiritual coaching, and the truth about menopause as a spiritual portal. Okay, that really surprised me. So that was juicy. You got to stick around for that, ladies. This one is for the women that are feeling the shift and ready to rise. Okay. And I already told you guys where you can hear all of this podcast and watch this podcast as well. So be sure to check my guests out in the description as well as me. A couple of other things I wanted to bring up about what's happening in May because it's a magical month, and then we'll get into the episode. This is the 1 year anniversary of the 5 stages of shadow work, guys. So I wrote that book last year, and it's available on Amazon, and I'm currently offering 25% off. It's already priced as discounted on Amazon, and I'm going to be having that special run until June. So go ahead and get your copy. I've got the journal up there as well, and I also have another ebook on how to connect with your ancestors. So definitely super proud of that. I just got out of some shadow work myself. Glad I made it. I was in the hole for 2 weeks, and I'm glad I'm on the other side. Something else that's going to be happening in the month of May in 2025, on May the 28th, Wednesday. I'm going to be having the Access Your Higher Consciousness class on Wednesday, May the 28th at 7:30 through 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, I'm going to have all that information down in the description. Okay, so I have yapped enough. Let us get into the episode. Make sure you stick around all the way to the end. Follow, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. All right. So thank you so much, Ebony, for agreeing to join me today. I'm coming out from the Wisdom Network. I'm having a few of you guys on recently on the podcast, and I'm really excited about it because you're doing some amazing work out there in the community. You're working with past life regression, energy healing, spiritual life coaching, healing and generational trauma, as well as topics on menopause. So
Yes.
I'm really excited to have you here with your wealth of knowledge and expertise. If you could just walk us through the journey of how you ended up becoming a spiritual life coach.
It's really strange. I originally I'm an author.
Oh,
I
nice.
used to write, and I say used to because I feel like I've grown out of that aspect of myself. It's something that
Mhm.
was born out of necessity to keep my self confidence up. But I used to write as Ebony Farashu, and I wrote erotic romance.
Nice.
And so, and I always knew that my purpose was to help people, but I just didn't know how I was supposed to do that. But what I did notice was that my books, people would actually get help from those books emotionally. It would kind of shine light on things that they may have been going through. I made my, my characters were always very um, lifelike. It's like you're reading about somebody that and I did that on purpose. And so I realized that my words matter, that my words can help people. And so through Mystic University, when the Divine Mother, Monica Beige, when she mentioned that she was going to start a spiritual life coaching course, something just, a light bulb just boom, like, oh my God, that's it. That is how I am supposed to be helping people. I'm
Mm.
supposed to be helping them spiritually, helping them with things that they're going through, healing, aches and pains and things like that. That is how I'm supposed to be making the greatest impact. And as I focused more on that, that Ebony Farasho, she just kind of faded into the wind. And now I am fully myself, who I am supposed to be in this life, Ebony Goodrich. And I love it here. And I didn't always love it here.
Oh, that's awesome. I love to hear that. And I love the transition from author to spiritual life coach, but I think the author's still in there. I think the
She is.
author's content just is going to shift over
Yes.
to the true Ebony. And
Yes.
that's exciting. I don't know if your books are still out there, but I'm definitely going to check those out too,
They
because
are.
awesome. That is so exciting. That's going to be my next group, is to have some authors on here. I just wrote my first book last year.
Oh,
So,
congratulations.
yeah, and I'm on Substack, and so over there is a lot of writers and
Mhm,
authors, and I love that aspect of being able to tap into that. Because that's one of the gifts that came later for me.
mhm, mhm.
So I'm definitely feeling like Ebony's got another, like, part two to her
It's
authorship.
in
But
there.
yes, yes, but tapping into your purpose, that's always a good feeling,
Yes.
and knowing that you've always innately had that ability to be able to
Mhm.
help people and to be able to kind of, have a way of expressing that. And so I'm grateful that you are in the place where you feel comfortable in your own
Thank you.
skin today,
Yes.
and you are helping other women and men to be able to tap into certain aspects of themselves spiritually. So
Yes.
that's beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So tell us about some of the areas of your spiritual life coaching that that you are actually an expert in.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I cannot tell you how it happened. But I am really good at past life regression. And I just decided to try it one day with a friend of mine. And I said, "Do you mind if I experiment on you?" And she's like, "Sure, okay." And literally took her back to like the 1700s,
Wow.
where she was an apprentice to a medicine woman.
Mm.
And I was feeling the things that she was feeling as she was going through that journey. And so I started practicing more. And the next thing I knew, I was just able to do it. Couldn't tell you how, but it's something a lot of spiritual people will tell
Mhm.
you. I don't know how I know, I just know.
Mhm.
I know things, and no one understands that unless you're someone who also knows things. I just know how to do it. I just like to guide people. Usually in my sessions, you visit 3 to 4 past lives. We don't just stay in one.
Mhm.
Um, I let the universe decide what life you need to see, and the
Right.
universe is going to pick the life that is going to correlate with the life that you have now. And my clients actually have conversations with their past selves. So they have conversations with that person. They ask them any questions they want to ask them. Do you have any advice for me? Are there things that you regret? And they're able to learn from that. And every single time and every single life that they visit, I had someone who was a cat in a
Mhm.
former life, but every single life that they visit, it teaches them a lesson, and they leave that session just feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
and full of purpose and understanding as to why some things are the way that they are and where certain bonds need to be broken.
I love that. Yeah. So that's that deep form of
Yeah.
healing. And I
Yes.
love how you talked about you just know that clear cognizant. Like
Mhm.
you don't need to really explain that, I think. I think
Yeah.
that's just we all have natural gifts and abilities that we've kind of gotten away from. Society has told us, "Oh, that's woo woo. Don't
Hmm.
do that." But when you are in purpose and you're walking in purpose, and you don't need anybody to tell you that. And so you're doing what's all you're just activating things in your DNA. That's
Yeah.
like, hey, I know how to do this. I'm going to do this, and you have the ability of taking people through past life regressions. I love that.
Yes.
I'm always fascinated with that subject, and I've had another guy on the podcast before,
Hmm.
and people go in different directions with that, but it seems like yours is on the side of people getting closure, people being
Yes.
able to heal things, and being able to have more understanding of themselves today.
Yes.
So that's beautiful. So do you like actually go through like a hypnosis kind of experience with them?
It is a hypnosis meditation, and I am with you every step of the way. I had one client, we ended up in a volcano. I was sweating, sweat pouring down my back, but I'm not leaving because I'm here with you. I've actually had a client get scared during one of hers. And I'm like, okay, just stand still. We were on a bridge. I said, just walk backwards, just follow the sound of my voice and keep walking, keep walking, keep walking. And then I just hugged her virtually,
Hmm.
but she felt that hug. And she asked me later, did you hug me? And I said, yes, because I wanted you to know that you were safe when I pulled you out of there. And I gently pulled her out, and she realized that she was safe. But just from the time that she had spent in that place, it gave her clarity on a lot of things that were going on in her life.
Hmm.
And so, hopefully we'll go back to that bridge one day and find out exactly what the person on the bridge wanted to tell her.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, that was going to be one of the things that I asked you. Like, have you ever had any experience with anyone that maybe went to a past life that was not um, a happy place or
Yeah,
wasn't? Yeah,
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 yeah. And unfortunately, not all past lives are happy. I think a lot of
right.
people think, oh, I'm going to go back and I was the king of England or something like that. You may not even be human in one of your
Hmm.
past lives. You may not be the same race or gender that you are. It's really, really fascinating. I always say, look down and look at your hands. They'll be like, oh, I think I'm a white man. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
so so yeah, so it is fascinating.
Yeah, that sounds very fascinating. Yeah, and I like how you talked about basically healing the karmic wounds. You kind of like, really
Yeah.
dug deep into that. What are some of the of experiences your clients have had after having the past life regression, like in their
Mhm.
lives?
I've had a lot of clients come back and tell me that they have a clearer vision of what they're supposed to be doing.
Mm,
I've had clients come and tell me that they're able to speak to people that they haven't spoken to in years because they now understand maybe a rift that was
yes.
between them. But then I also have people who come back and they say, you know what? I don't want to keep living the way that I was living because now I see that there is a better way.
Mm,
And they're going to move towards their true purpose. I have a lot of people who are afraid to be their true selves, like I was once. I was once afraid to be my true self. And after coming out of that past life regression and getting that advice from their past selves, they're able to say, you know what? I'm going to be who I am, and I don't care who likes it because I love it.
yes.
I love me. The one thing that I want people to leave every session, whether it's a life coaching session, a healing session, or a past life regression, I want you to leave that session understanding that you are your number one priority, not your kids, not your spouse or significant other, not your job, your brothers and sisters, your parents. You are the priority. And once you become your main priority, everything else falls into place.
Yes, I love that. And that's so true. We got to take care of ourselves. We got to fill up our own cup. And, especially if some people have older children, and a
Yes.
lot of times, once your kids are grown or think they grown,
Okay.
to that age where they think they grown, and now you're sitting here like, okay, what about me? I think that's a perfect time. That's where I am with my girls. My girls are older. They're in their early 20s. So
Hmm.
um that allowed and really opened up a lot of space for me to heal and get back into exploring some of these other things.
Yes.
The journey never stops for us either. As the healers, I always say that we still doing our own work and still growing too as well. But
Yeah.
I love that. I love that the work that you're doing and how it's really helping people to kind of get some closure, and be able to move forward, and
Yes.
that's what
Yes.
it's really about too. So awesome. It sounds like you're big into energy healing. Me too.
Yes.
Yay.
Yay.
So talk to me about the body's wisdom, like about how our body, stores emotions and things like that.
Our bodies, and I didn't know this for years, but our bodies store negative energy
Hmm.
in the form of pain, in the form of inflammation, anxiety, depression. We hold our body holds on to things. I think there's a book called The Body Remembers, that my stepdaughter my bonus daughter was telling me about. It's called The Body Remembers, I believe. But the body remembers everything that you've gone through. And if you don't learn how to mentally and spiritually let that go, it will linger in your body and wreak havoc.
Yes.
Arthritis, um, lots of illnesses. If you have a lot of stomach problems, stress is a killer.
Hmm.
High blood pressure and stress go hand in hand, and that goes hand in hand with migraines and other pains. So if we could get to the root of what the real issue is instead of putting a band-aid on it and rip that out, let's get to the root of the emotional issue that caused this. What is actually
Yes.
causing this? Because if you I can heal you, but then if you're still dealing with the same things, you're going to be right back needing that healing again. Because a lot of people think that a healer, spiritual life coach, past life regression is, they think that we are the answer.
Mm.
We help you, but there's also work for you to do.
Absolutely.
Try
We
to
are
give
the
you,
facilitators.
yes,
We
yes,
are the kind of the nudge. We are the, turn the light switch on. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. And I love that because, I always talk about it at the beginning of this podcast is that mind, body, spirit
mhm,
integration is all integrated.
yes,
By the time our body is giving us signals and cues about things going wrong, physically like arthritis and all these different things, there's been signs all along before
yes,
that, that we just haven't been paying attention to.
mhm,
As a society, we have been trained to, look outside instead of focusing on what's on the inside. And
yes,
I like how you talked about everything is the body stores everything. The body stores
mhm.
everything,
It does
good
not forget.
and yes, good and bad. And for some reason, the negative a lot of times will outshine the positive aspects of what we
Yes.
have inside of us. So, like you talking about your spiritual gifts, I always talk about our DNA being activated, us having that network and connection with our ancestors
Hmm.
to not just the trauma that some of them went through, but also the gifts and the
Yes.
abilities and the skills and those types of things we have access to as
Yeah.
well. So, yeah, and and that's why energy healing is so important. That's why what you do is so effective for
Yes.
people who may not understand. Well, how does it work if I can't see it and
Hmm.
touch it and feel it? It's because on an energetic level, we're reaching deeper.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And
yeah,
the more negative energy we pull out, the more positive energy you will feel.
yes.
I will never forget the first time I was actually going through a healing session with Divine Mother Monica Bay. And out of the blue, she says, "Hey, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I'm also a medium. And I'm telling you this now because there's somebody trying to get my attention, and I think they know you." And it turns out it was my grandmother.
Mm,
And when I felt her pass through me, my heart felt like it was going to explode. Tears started running down my face. And I realized that she was showing me her joy.
mhm,
And it was like nothing I had ever, not even when I
Yeah.
held my first child, I had never felt the kind of joy that she showed me. And I realized that I want that. That's a that's a like people chase the same high when the first time
Yeah.
you use drugs. That joy was something that I began to chase. I need to get to know myself. I need to get deep into myself
Yes.
because I want to feel that kind of joy again, and I want to give it to other people.
That's so beautiful. I love it. I love that. Anytime somebody has an ancestral experience, I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm like super passionate about that because I think also your grandmother was elated with joy because of how proud of you she was.
Yes. Yes.
She was so proud of you.
Yeah.
Like, and that's such a beautiful experience and to be able to feel that and to know they're not gone.
Right.
They're still here rooting for us,
Yes.
guiding us, if we can hear and feel and be receptive to
Hmm.
that. So I'm so grateful that you had that
Me
experience. I
too. It was
am.
life changing, and I think a lot of people. And when that happened, because I'm going to tell you that it turns out, yes, the message was for me, but it was not only for me, it was for my mom as well.
Mm,
I didn't get to go to my grandmother's funeral.
mm,
Um, the week that she died, my ex husband's mother, and we were married at the time, also passed away. And so my place had to be with my then husband and my children and his family. And so I did not get to attend my grandmother's funeral.
mhm,
So when I told my mom, because the whole time my grandmother is communicating with Monica, she's prancing around in this mauve dress, which I found strange because I'm telling you, my granny is from Tishomingo, Oklahoma, very country, and her idea of dressing up was like this white polyester pantsuit that she had with this red
mhm.
shirt, and baby, she was going to town with her fancy outfit on, and that's actually what she wanted to be buried in. She had told my mom years ago that's what she wanted to be buried in. So when I told my mom about the experience that I'd had, and I was kind of scared to tell her because you always know woo woo woo.
Right.
So I'm telling my mom about this experience. I don't mention anything about the way Granny's prancing around. And she just gets really thoughtful and she says, "Well, baby, when you talk to your granny again, tell her that I'm so sorry about the dress." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Why, sorry about the dress? What does that mean?" And she said, "Well, I know that you weren't at the funeral." She said, "But Mama told me that when she died, she wanted to be buried in that tacky white pantsuit. And I just didn't want to do that. So I buried her in a mauve dress.
Mm.
Granny loved that dress, and that's what she needed my mom to know. And that released years of guilt from my mom's shoulders.
Oh, yes. I love it.
So it was twofold. And from that
Yeah.
point forward, my mom was like, "Okay, keep telling me more about
Yes,
your
exactly. This
experiences
is
and what
real.
you went through." Yeah.
And it's not creepy and it's not scary and it's
Yeah.
beautiful and like you said, it's healing,
Yes.
as extends forward and backwards for us in our generation. So I love that. Yes, that's a beautiful story. Thank you for telling
Thank
me that.
you.
Telling us that. So yeah, so see what energy healing can do, y'all. For those of you guys who are like maybe still, unbelievers, this
Mhm.
stuff works, and I always have people here with some sort of story about some sort of connection with the other side, just letting us know that on an energetic level, we're more than just this physical body, that on an energetic level, we are continuing the process of spiritual development and evolution and growth.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it never stops, y'all. So definitely, sounds like you're doing some amazing work.
Thank you.
Um, Tell me about the role of a spiritual life coach. I think sometimes people are maybe just misinformed about what exactly is the role of a spiritual life coach.
So, for me as a spiritual life coach, I'm going to use my metaphysical tools to help you reach your goals. And a lot of people think, oh, a goal is I want to raise at work. Yeah, that is a goal. But a spiritual life coach, we can help you hit all kinds of goals, emotional goals. If you're grieving, I want to get to the point where I can feel like I'm living again. If you have anxiety, I want to get to the point where I'm not so anxious anymore. We can help you with those type of goals. And I use hypnosis, I use guided meditation. I love to affirm people, and I need for
Mhm.
people to affirm themselves and believe it. And So those are my methods, and we work through every single problem. One thing people don't understand is that if you have a goal, there are steps to each goal. Say you want to win the lottery.
Mhm.
You've been manifesting and manifesting that you want to win the lottery, and this is what I'm going to do when I win the money. Well, you can't manifest winning the lottery if you don't take the steps, such as buying a ticket.
Right.
You can imagine and manifest winning the lottery all day long, but if you never buy a ticket, that manifestation doesn't have a chance. So you
Mhm.
have to give your manifestations a chance, and there are key roles that you have to address to get to that point. You have to start small. Don't start big. Start small. Buy the ticket.
Mhm.
Buy the ticket every
Yeah.
week. That type of thing. If you want to have more self confidence, I can snap my fingers and make you have confidence in that moment. But if you yourself don't believe it, it's not going to stay. You have
Mhm.
to be able to look in the mirror and affirm yourself and believe it. I am great. I am love. I am capable. If you yourself don't believe those things, there's nothing that I can do to make that stick. So, what I do is give you the tools to make it stick, to get you to the goal that you're trying to reach.
Sorry, did I lose you for a minute?
I think we froze.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, so you were talking about giving the tools to make things stick. So yeah, I
Yeah.
got that part. But yeah, and I loved what you talked about with the manifestation because you sometimes you see that thrown around
Mm-hmm.
a lot on social media like it's just a, thing that's like a real
Mm-hmm.
quick fix, but there are some steps to manifesting.
Exactly.
And I actually did a class a couple of months ago on that, like raising your frequency to abundance, because where we are right now from where we want to get to, and that gap in between there requires some steps like you talked about. So what you want may not actually be what you need, or you may
Yes.
have to go through some, and I say this all the time, and people don't want to hear this, some healing.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't feel a certain way about yourself, and then there's going to be some healing aspects of that wounded inner child,
Mm-hmm.
or going back to that, place of where did this thought process and belief actually start from.
Yeah.
And people don't want to do that. Not
Everybody want
everybody
to do
want
it.
to do the work. They just want the stuff, the quick gratification. But a lot of this takes time. And then of course, tapping into the gifts of visualization, and being able to feel yourself having this. It's hard to feel yourself having it if you don't believe you can actually have it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's some work done, but in the process you get to discover what needs to be worked on. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I hear you talking about as a spiritual life coach, once again facilitating for someone
Yeah.
what it is that needs to be done for
Yeah.
them.
Because everything
So,
starts with healing.
yes,
You have
yes,
to
yes,
be
yes.
a healed and whole person to truly achieve your goals and be content within those goals. Otherwise, you're just going to keep wanting more and more and more. Nothing's going to be enough if you are not healed. So figure out
Absolutely.
why.
Yep, do the work, y'all. Ain't no
Yeah.
cheat codes. I say that all the time. Ain't no cheat codes, y'all. We got to go through it. But in the process, is the discovery process is so beautiful. And
Yes.
who we become on the other side is more like who we truly are. That's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. Do you
Yep.
realize, hey, that other person was just kind of, getting through and surviving, and being a part of society. But now you become this individual,
Mm-hmm.
unique spirit,
Yep.
having a human experience. It's such a beautiful thing. It really is. So yeah, I love that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody describe it that way. Um, so yeah, so tell me about how you're being able to integrate your past and your present into your spiritual growth. So coming from being the author,
Mm-hmm.
to having the experiences that you have, and to being the spiritual life coach and where you're going.
I had to understand why I became the persona that I took on when I was writing. At first, it was just a little innocent thing. I was a spoken word poet back in the
Okay.
day, Ebony Farashu, Black
Mhm.
Butterfly, and
Shout
I would
out.
do like really like I was like the love poet, and
Mhm.
I would get up there and perform love poems, and everybody snapping their fingers, and I loved it. And but I was very shy. But when I was Ebony Farashu, I wasn't shy. I was able to get up in front of all those people. And then I wouldn't even know that I was shaking the whole time. When I got off the stage, I would just be shaking because now I'm back to me. Um, I went through a very painful divorce, and there was infidelity, and I was left, and I was told all of the things that I was not. And I was told everything that was wrong with me. And I internalized all of those things. And then I tried to become someone who wasn't those things. So now I need to be sexy all the time. Check. I need to blah 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 blah. I need to be this. This is how I got to carry myself. This is how I got to think. This is what I have to do in order to be the kind of person that the person left me wanted, so
Mm.
that other people will want me too. But guess what? The wrong people wanted that.
Yes,
The wrong people wanted that. And then when I felt comfortable enough to just be me, they didn't want me.
exactly.
They thought I was this other person. And so I tried to compartmentalize that, because when I did finally find the man that I loved, and he loved me the right way, but I'm still writing. I'm still writing these books, and people are still expecting me to be that person. And that's not who I am anymore. And I couldn't understand why I was having such a hard time writing the sequel to one of my books. And then I realized, because this is not the book you're supposed to be writing now. You're trying to write this book because that's what they expect and that's what they want. What do you want, Ebony?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be me. And when I started becoming me and learning who I truly was deep down, yeah, I'm still sexy.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have to be all that I am.
Right,
You
right.
and so I don't have to be all of those things. I'm everything, but I'm everything to myself. I'm not trying to be everything so that other people will like me. I like
Mm.
me, and I'm the only one that matters when it comes to that. And people fell off. The people who fall off were not supposed to be there in this new phase of my life. There were people who fell off and told me, "You're different. You're not the same person you were." I know. Isn't it great?
Mm-hmm.
I have boundaries now. I love myself now. I'm not filling everybody else's cup while my cup is bone dry. I'm giving everything to myself. And then the people who appreciate it and need it and love me for who I am, I'm able to pour into them, and my cup never gets empty.
Right.
But when you pour into the wrong people, you are
Mm-hmm.
defeated. You are tired. You're helping the wrong people. I used to give energy to everybody who asked for it. You can't do that,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody is supposed to have your energy. It doesn't mean they don't deserve it, but it means that person is not your assignment. And when you are dealing with someone who is not your assignment, you will always feel drained. It will feel like a chore. Their number will pop up on your phone, and you'll be like, I don't know if I want to answer that.
Yep.
It shouldn't feel like that when you're helping somebody.
That's right.
So you have to help somebody with joy. And so when you're able to help somebody with joy, and this is somebody who is actually your assignment, every time you finish with them, you'd be like, yes, what's
Yes.
next?
Yeah, you feel
Energize.
elevated. Yeah,
Yes,
energized. You feel like, wow, I feel good. I got more energy now. Yeah.
yes. So you have to understand who is your assignment and who is not your assignment. I'm a person that I used to think that I didn't like people, and I was very introverted, and I thought, I really don't like people. I wore headphones everywhere I went. They might be on, they might not be on, but I would think that that was a deterrent, because strangers, would walk up to me and tell me their life stories out of the blue. They would tell me things that they probably should have been telling a priest in a confessional. Like, it would get
Right.
that private. And I would just be like, why? Why are you talking to me? What's going on? But finally, when I learned how to protect myself from the wrong energy, I don't wear those headphones when I go into the store now, because if someone has the wrong energy, they're not going to approach me. My shield is going to repel that. And so now I know that the people who approach me, if my shield allows them this close to me to tell me something, there's something from me that they need that I'm supposed to be giving them. And I give it to them, and then they walk away. And then I have that feeling of, okay, now let me go ahead and finish my shopping. I'm fine. I'm not drained. I'm okay.
Right. I love it. I love how you talked about the transition of you,
Yeah.
the transformation of you, and how you had become somebody that you didn't even recognize,
Hmm.
for a while. And when you talked about people, just kind of falling off because that's what happens. They were
Yeah.
attracted to this other person. I remember that when I got my locks. It's crazy.
Hmm.
I was one of these, had all the different hairstyles. I mean, you name it, I had it. Ponytail hair, always done,
Hmm.
lots of weave, lots of weave. Not knocking anybody that wears weave, just talking about me. And then when I started my locks, and I've got 4C hair, and
Hmm.
they shrunk, like they shrunk up, child. And I was totally different. I
Yeah.
looked totally different. And it took me some time. And people used to tell me that you're going to change. And when you get your locks, it's going to change you. I was like, what are you talking about? And it really did, because I didn't realize that my worth was so determined on being sexy, on getting
Yes.
cat calls, on how fine I was to people. And that's all I had. And,
Hmm.
and I had so much more to give. And, I really wrestled with myself for like the first 5 months of my lock journey, because them locks going to do what them locks do
They gonna do.
in
Did you
the
go through
beginning.
your scarf phase where you just had a scarf on every day?
Yes, I was
Yes.
over here trying to put them in styles and they was not ready yet. Like I was doing the most. And so finally I had to love myself. I
Hmm.
had to love myself just like I was. And that was some huge breakthrough for me.
Yeah.
And I changed, I really did. And like you said, different types of people were attracted to me. And what I found was relationships of more substance,
Yes.
not these superficial on the surface, and these people who I don't know what they wanted. Well,
Hmm.
some of them I do, but some of them I don't know. Maybe they wanted to be by somebody that looked like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that today, and definitely I could resonate with that. So it has truly been an honor having you on the podcast. I know there's
Thank you.
one other topic
Hmm.
that you also help women with, and that's dealing with menopause.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Listen, and this is something that I've just started doing. I am going through menopause. I'm actually having a hot flash right now.
See, right
And
on time,
it
y'all.
used to just, it would be to the point where a hot flash would hit me, and it would hit me so fast that I would just start cussing.
Hmm.
And I would become very, very frustrated. And I didn't understand what was happening to my body. Why am I forgetting everything? Why can't I remember why I opened the refrigerator? Oh, I was looking for the remote. Well, why would I think it was in there? I mean, those kind of things. And I thought I was going crazy. I would cry all the time. I didn't understand what was going on with my body because nobody ever told me it would be like that.
Yeah.
The only thing that I had ever been told about menopause was hot flashes.
Hmm.
I didn't know I wouldn't be able to sleep at night, or that I would constantly wake up in puddles of sweat, or, there's so much to it that you just don't understand. And so for me, my breakthrough through this craziness has been, I was in a sauna one day, at my acupuncturist office, and he has this sauna, this infrared sauna. And I'm sitting in there because I was trying to learn how to meditate in silence. That is something that's hard for a lot of people, and I was
Hmm.
one of them. I needed words. I was trying to learn how to meditate in silence. I sat there in that silence, and I think I was in there for about 30 minutes. I did not feel the heat of the sauna while I was in there. All I heard were messages from my ancestors, just messages pouring in, pouring in. And the main message that poured in was lean into the heat. I didn't know what that meant, but I had always been told by my spirit guides that my gifts were, were rooted in heat.
Hmm.
They're rooted in my hands, they're rooted in heat. I'm charged by the sun, all of these things. In a past life, my name was Solara, which literally means the sun.
Hmm.
And so they were like, lean into the heat. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'm going to try. So I got a hot flash, and I didn't lean into the heat. I started cussing. I got
Right.
frustrated and I got flustered, and I was like, oh my God. And then I realized my reaction to the hot flash was making it worse.
Right. Exacerbating it.
It was making it last longer. So the next time I got one, I could feel it started at the back of my head. That's where they started, and it just fans out. And I felt that little tingling and that little sweat. And I said, let me lean into this heat. And I just breathed through that entire hot flash. Did it make me not hot? No. but it controlled my reaction to it. It did not give it power over me.
Right.
I controlled my reaction to it, and then it was gone. Now I'm at a point where I can be sitting here talking to you, and I'm not going to stop talking. I'm still talking. The hot flash might be there, but I know that it's gonna go away. But I'm also working on methods to where I have activation words for myself. If it
Hmm.
gets too bad, I can say this activation word. I can snap my finger, and a cool breeze will start coming over my body to
I
help
love
me
it.
out. 'Cause sometimes we need a little extra help. But to me, the first stage of leaning into the heat was controlling my reaction to the heat.
I
Because I'm
love it.
not letting this heat make me act like this. I'm hurting myself.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love it. And that's such a life lesson too. Lean into to calm down, to
Mhm.
start to control what's happening in and around you. To
Yes.
me, that's a powerful, like you're tapping into some extra power that comes with
Yes.
the menopause and after, like that
Yes.
extra wisdom and that extra, I don't know. It's like it's hard to describe that extra ashe, something you're
Mhm.
getting gifted that doesn't happen to you until you reach this stage
Yeah.
of your life. And that's beautiful. I love it because I often wondered, but I heard some women that are into spirituality say that they experience menopause differently
Mhm.
than women who don't have these tools. But I've never heard of
Mhm.
breathing into it, which it sounds like your ancestors
Yeah.
just came through and was like, "Hey, baby, we gonna help
Yeah.
you through this because we done
And
all been through this."
even
Yeah.
though I had the tools, I wasn't using them because I didn't know to use them for that.
Right.
Because as a healer, who's the one person that I never tried to heal?
True.
Me. I was always healing everybody else. I didn't know that I could heal myself. And I would try to heal myself. Something my scalp is tingling now just thinking about it. I would try to heal myself, but I wasn't fully focused on me because I felt like it was selfish. We're
Mm.
taught that taking care of ourselves is selfish because we're supposed to put everybody ahead of us. When you let go of that, that's when you can start healing yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's when you can lean into the heat or lean into the cold or whatever it is you're leaning into. I healed myself going through a horrible flu. And it was the first time that I knew that I was doing it just for me and that it wasn't selfish. It's
Hmm.
not selfish to help yourself.
Not at
And my
all.
ancestors taught me that. Where is your safe space in your house? Where do you go to just unwind and I just need to be with myself for a while?
Probably in my bedroom. My
Okay.
bedroom, yeah, on my actually on my bed. That's where I do my meditation.
Hmm. So I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you this. My place is the shower. And my granny
Mhm.
whispered this in my ear while I was in the shower one day, because that's where I would go to rehash every problem of the day.
Mhm.
And I'm in there having imaginary conversations of what I should have said and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
My granny told me the world cannot come in here with you.
I
When
love
you
it.
are in this space, it is all about you. Any racing thoughts, any thought that does not serve you, any thought that is not about you and your relaxation at this time and your meditation and what you're focused on this time, it can't come in here.
That's
So your
beautiful.
safe space is for you and for you alone. Because when you let the world, she said, when the world is in your ear, you're not able to hear what you're supposed to hear. So if the world is in your ear, you have all these racing thoughts, you can't hear what the universe is trying to tell you. You
That's
can't hear
right.
what your spirit guides and your ancestors are trying to tell you. So let your safe space truly be that
Mhm.
just for you. You can
I
think
love
about
it.
your kids in the kitchen, but when you on your bed in your dedicated safe space, it's all about you, mama.
Yeah, and that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
And I love that and how you talked about we can't hear anything. We can't hear our higher self. We can't hear our
Hmm.
spirit guides, ancestors until we can be quiet. And meditation is the foundation of it
Hmm.
all, y'all.
Yes, it is. It is.
And it's the foundation. We have got to learn how to get quiet and we have to learn how to be comfortable with sitting still, and that in itself is a practice.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you brought that up. But you know what? This has been a beautiful conversation with
Thank
you. It
you.
has been so enlightening and it's been an honor to have you on. I learned so much. And like when you were talking about the menopause thing, I just really got excited because I was like, she's like working with the high ascended yay yays. Like, she
she working with the high priestess now. Like once you get to a certain part, there's more. Like I just went off on like they're
Yeah,
like, you're not there yet. You perimenopausal, but I'm like, there's more to this. I'm excited. I am so excited.
yeah,
So
there's
thank you
more.
so much for coming on. I know that my guests and the listeners are going to enjoy this podcast episode.
Thank
Tell
you.
us how we can find you and the services that you offer and all that good stuff.
Okay, so I offer spiritual life coaching services, I offer energy healing, and I also offer past life regression. If you want to know more about that, you can always book a 30-minute consultation. And that way we can kind of dig down into what you need, and we can see if you feel like I can help you. I'm on Instagram, Ebby _ life coach. I'm on Facebook as Ebony Danielle Goodrich, because at this point in my life, I'm just being me and who I am. And so I'm using my real name and and all of that. And if you want to talk about healing through menopause, definitely book a consultation and let us talk about what your specific needs are, and we can figure out a way.
Awesome, awesome. Well, y'all heard what she said. Y'all get over there. As you know, I'm going to always have this information down in the description as well. So be sure to follow her, check her out. She is a part of the Wisdom Network tribe. And so far, these guests have been absolutely amazing. It's been an honor to have them. And thank you so much once again, y'all. And that is it. Until the next episode.
Thank
Peace.
you. Bye, guys.